Hi, Beaux here at Beaux Insurance, Read Insurance, talking today about 6 different types of policies you can buy to protect the place that you live. Now, depending on the type of place that you live in, you will need one of these different types of policies. Now, I'm not going to cover all of them, but I'm going to cover the 6 big ones, the 6 that you will see most commonly. And you need to be aware that there's some things that are in some of those policies that are going to not cover you adequately. And also some of the others that may give you all the different coverages that you need in a bundle that's really going to be less expensive, even though it gives you broader coverage or even more coverage. So let's dive in. Let's start talking about that. I'm going to start off talking about the worst one. All right. Now, when I say the worst, I don't mean like it's the worst and like it's terrible or whatever. But it is not. It is the least amount of coverage that you can buy, and depending on your situation, you may have to go with this. And that's going to be called a dwelling one. It's a DP1. Sometimes they refer to it as that, but they'll either call it's a dwelling policy, and it's the first form that they have. It's the minimum amount of coverages that you can get. It is a perils-based policy, meaning that there's only this short list of things that it will give you coverage for. Different policies have this thing called perils, and that perils list is all the things that it will give you coverage for, meaning that if you have a claim, it has to fit inside that list of perils. Those perils are claim types that will be covered by that policy. So the dwelling one, or the DP1, sometimes it's called DP1, sometimes it's called DWG1, that has got the shortest list of perils. Typically you'll have to get this if you have like a policy that's either on a home that's either it's vacant or it's got remodeling that's being done to it, or also that maybe just there's some upkeep that needs to be done and you need to make some repairs to it and you can't get other insurance. So it's not the absolute worst, but it is not the preferred policy at all for you. The second one is going to be a DP2, or dwelling policy 2. That policy is a little bit better than the DP1, but still not ideal. Now, I don't see this one as much. Typically, you'll see insurance companies that will offer either the 1 or the 3, but typically not the 2. The 2 is a little bit broader, a little bit better, but still not ideal. Similar situations that you may see in that, it really is going to probably be where either you're renting out that property or something like that, or you've got some problems with it, maybe why you would see it, but again, you're not going to see this very often. Typically, you're going to see the 1 or the 3 in these situations. So let's talk about the dwelling 3. The dwelling 3, sometimes referred to as DP3, is the broadest of the 3 different types of dwelling policies that are out there. A lot of times you'll see these on rental property that's in good condition, that's being rented to other people. You have someone else living there, you own it, you collect rent for someone else to stay there. That's typically where you'll see these, or also sometimes you'll see that as for secondary homes, but that's the different situations that you'll see that in. You can get replacement costs on a dwelling 3, whereas you can't get that on a dwelling 1 or dwelling 2 typically. Another difference in that policy is that it's got much broader list of things that it can be covered against. Remember the perils that I talked about earlier? It's a much broader list of perils. So if you had to get with a 1 or 3, the 3 is definitely the best. The easiest thing to remember is that the higher the number, the better it is. So number 1 is not necessarily number 1. Number 3 is actually number 1 in this situation. So another thing to understand about the dwelling policies versus the homeowner policies we're going to talk about here in just a second is the dwelling policies are a kind of an a la carte type policy, meaning that you have to pick and choose all the different coverages that you want, versus a homeowner policy comes as a package. It's kind of like a buffet or something like that. It's all included over on the homeowner policy. And the dwelling policy is you have to pick each and every different thing and pay for each and every different thing that you buy. So let's talk about homeowner policies. We're going to talk about first, we're going to talk about the HO3. The HO3 is going to be the policy you buy if you buy a house and you live in it. If you're actually living in it, you want to insure the building, the contents, and provide liability coverage for you, you're going to get an HO3 policy. This is a package type policy that you pick 2 things. You pick 3 things. You pick the dwelling A amount, which the coverage A amount, which is the dwelling. That's actually somewhat picked for you because it's going to be insured what the rebuilding cost is going to be. The second thing you're going to pick is going to be your deductible, how big of a deductible you want to have. That's going to be how much you pay in the event you have a claim. The third thing is going to be your liability limit. You want to pick a higher limit than what you're covering the house for. That way if something happens, you're named in a lawsuit, your house is protected by your liability insurance. So that's a HO3 policy if you live in it. The next one is going to be an HO4. An HO4 is a policy you get if you are renting a place. You live somewhere like an apartment, a house, a duplex or something like that, and you are renting that space to live in. Well, you still have your contents and you still have a liability exposure, right? Well, you want a HO4 policy that will give you coverage for your contents, all your stuff, your furniture, your clothes, your television, all the other things that you have, as well as also liability coverage. So if something happens and you're named in some sort of a lawsuit, you've got protection there through that HO4 policy. The last one that we're talking about is the HO6. This is a condominium policy or a condo policy. It's a HO6. If you have bought a condominium, meaning you bought a space, whether it's like down to the studs or just the sheetrock or just like the surface, you've got a space that with a deed and it says you own, and it just describes what it is, but you don't own the entire dwelling or the entire structure. That's going to be an HO6 policy. It's similar to the HO3 and HO4 in that it gives you some dwelling A coverage like the HO3 does, but it's only for that defined space as it is listed in that contract. So if you have bought a condo and you're talking to your insurance agent, make sure you tell them, hey, I bought a condo. Here's a copy of my contract labeling what I need to cover. Also, it will probably spell out what the limit of coverage is that you have to have. And that's typically a minimum. You don't necessarily have to just stick with that number. You can go higher if you think you need to because of, let's face it, we've been in a big inflation period the last couple of years, and costs of materials are just going up. So you may need to insure it for more than they are suggesting. Just watch out for yourself, because if you don't insure it for enough, you have a claim, out of your pocket is where the rest of that's going to come. So it gives you coverage for that part of the house that you own, the dwelling that you are living in, as well as also your contents. Also, it gives you liability coverage too. So that's 6 different types of policies you can get on the place that you live in. Hope that helps you to understand the differences between those different ones. And there's different scenarios where you will have to choose a certain path, but you certainly do have some different choices there. Hey, this is Beaux Pilgrim, Beaux Knows Insurance, Read Insurance. I appreciate you checking out this video. Hey, if this video helped you out, helped you to understand about buying insurance, hey, make sure you give us that thumbs up and make sure you hit that like video. And also make sure you hit that subscribe button right now. That way we know that we're doing good for you, and also that it'll help other people to be able to find this content and also get the same sort of help that you did. Thanks again for checking us out, and I appreciate you and hope you have a great day. Bye.